The Trixie Treatment. Why Drappy Ditsy Drappy Do. Chapter 6. Truth. Applejack was unable to keep her eyes off Trixie. She'd never seen a pony eat so much so quickly. If she didn't put a stop to it soon, the Apple family would have the winter larders run dry. Trixie looked up, about halfway through her third pie, still with a dollop of filling on her nose. "Why are you staring at Trixie like that?" She raised an eyebrow, captivated by the splendor of Trixie's company already. "You've got some apple in your hair," smiled AJ. Applejack was seated across the kitchen table from Trixie, leaning her chin on her hoof and watching the blue unicorn gorge herself. Trixie barely hesitated for a moment before charging snout first into what was left of the pie. "I spoke to Twilight yesterday." Humph. Trixie swallowed hard. "About what?" "About you. Didn't you say the whole point of you helping me out during the blizzard was so I'd go back and tell Twilight you're doing better and you're not out for revenge again or anything?" Trixie stared blankly at AJ for a moment. She was still lost in a giddy, food-induced high. Right. And what did Twilight Sparkle say?" "Well, Twilight said I should be as friendly as I can with you so you don't go off the deep end again. Sometimes even the element of honesty had to execute a little discretion." Twilight said that. That it's great that you're doing so well." That much was true. "It is great. And powerful. But not powerful in a corrupted, magical amulet kind of way." "Do you eat food like this every day?" said Trixie, her cheeks still stuffed to bursting. "Humph, Trixie hasn't. Humph. Eaten this well in ages." "Go easy there, sugar cube. It ain't going nowhere." Now that AJ had got Trixie all to herself, she wasn't really sure what to say. Maybe it might be worth tackling the elephant in the room. So. Fought any Ursa Majors lately? She had meant it as a joke, but the way Trixie stopped eating mid-bite suddenly made things awkward. Trixie remembers her first outing to Ponyville. "That was the first time we met, wasn't it? You were one of the naysayers heckling Trixie's magnificent performance." Applejack rubbed her arm nervously as Trixie spoke. Trixie eyed her warily and then put down the slice of pie she'd been munching on. "Trixie supposes that she owes you an apology, of sorts. For embarrassing you in front of your friends." "And for lying," said AJ bluntly. "Now Trixie will not apologize for embellishing the truth. You don't know what it's like being a magician in Equestria. Young ones these days couldn't care less about stage magic. Some of them can even do real magic themselves." No pony was willing to give Trixie a chance until she started telling ponies that she had accomplished great feats. No pony wanted to listen to Trixie's stories until she said that they were true. "Look, I know that you've had a tough time. That you're still having a tough time. But that ain't no kind of an excuse for lying to folks. The truth will always come out in the end, and then you'll just be in a worse spot than you were before." This seems to have sunk home with Trixie. Although her eyes had won her temporary fame, she was now reviled as a fraud. AJ continued, "Why do you do this whole great and powerful act for every pony? Why can't you just try being yourself for a change?" Trixie sat in silence for the longest time, staring at the table in front of her and unmoving. When she finally spoke, her voice was a dry monotone, devoid of the flair and pizzazz that she usually spiced up her speech with. "When I was very young, my father passed away. I had to live with my stepmother. She hated me. Not a single day went by without her telling me what a burden I was being. What a disappointment I was. I would go to school every morning without a shred of confidence. Because of that, I spent all my time alone and got bullied really badly at school as well. Every day ponies would tell me that I was worthless, that I was stupid, that I was weak. And soon I realized that what they were saying to me was becoming true. I often ditched school to hide from the bullies. And my marks plummeted because of it. Ponies called me stupid, and then I started failing my classes and proving them right. They told me I was a loner. And so I remain a loner. They told me that I would fail and then I did. They told me I was a burden and so I became one. Words have power. When you get told something over and over you start to believe that it must be true. And when you believe something is true then it will decide what you can and can't accomplish. We base our lives, our expectations, our hopes on what we believe to be true. We create our own realities based on the things we are told, the things we learn and the things we experience. So on the day I got my kitty mark I decided that if every pony else was going to tell Trixie that she was pathetic and powerless then she'd just have to tell herself the opposite. Trixie would defy the truth. She would create her own truth. She'd tell herself she was brilliant 100 times for every single time she was told that she was pitiful by other ponies. She'd crow it from the rooftops and whisper it to herself before she went to bed. Trixie is great and powerful. Trixie is spectacular. Trixie is the greatest there ever was. Trixie got off her chair now. Her air of confidence returning. She strutted across the kitchen and stood, staring defiantly at her host. When some pony is told something over and over again they become convinced that it's true. And Trixie has told herself that she is great and powerful every day since she ran away from home 10 years ago. And, although her confidence may have been a little rattled by Twilight Sparkle, she still believes that it is true. That she is great and powerful. And if she believes it long enough, if she works hard enough then maybe it will really be true. Her voice warbled momentarily and then she regained her composure. Trixie can see that you value honesty and the truth but Trixie knows that the truth is a thing we make for ourselves. Sure, Trixie often told stories about herself defeating an Ursa Major. But these stories were more than true, not because they actually happened but because ponies need to believe that monsters can be beaten. Trixie knows they can. She's beaten a few herself and some of the ones she faced were scarier than some stupid bear. Applejack paused. She removed her hat and placed it gently on the table. She took a deep breath. And then she gave Trixie the biggest hug she had ever given any pony in her life. Chapter 7. Apple Crush. When asked about that day at a later date Trixie would tell every pony that she most certainly did not cry in Applejack's warm embrace. Trixie says lots of things that aren't really true. As AJ cradled the sobbing magician she mentally tried to calm herself down. Her heart was pounding in her chest as if it were about to burst free and run a lap around Sweet Apple Acres. She'd hugged plenty of ponies in her life, family and otherwise, and never felt anything like this before. Now Applejack, she told herself, what the heck are you getting so worked up about? Trixie here needs a shoulder to cry on and you're filling your head with stupid thoughts. Stop trying to smell her mane. Stop. Stop. Dang, she smells really good. Like pine needles. I wonder if she'd think it weird if I kissed her. Nothing romantic like. Maybe just a motherly peck on the nose to make her feel better. No, 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 no. Control yourself. Console it. She just unburdened a whole load of baggage on you and you're here thinking about. Touching her soft little cheek. Kissing her beautiful lips and... Applejack? AJ jerked away, breaking off the embrace. Trixie wasn't crying, mind you, sniffed the azure unicorn, wiping her snout on her cape. She just has allergies, that's all. But thank you for helping Trixie with her allergies. And for hugging her. Trixie awkwardly shuffled her hooves and stared at the ground. Applejack laughed nervously. Think nothing of it. Every pony's got to unburden themselves once in a while. She took a deep breath. Why is it so darn hard to calm herself down? Listen. I'm really sorry you had to go through that stuff and if you ever need to talk, well, just know that I'm here for you, she said, her cheeks still noticeably flushed. You are? Why? Trixie looked genuinely confused. That's what friends are for, ain't it? Trixie's jaw nearly hit the floor. Wait, what? We're for friends? Really? When did? Why would you? What? Really? Trixie has never had a free. Trixie cut herself short. What Trixie meant to say is that she would be glad to add you to the long list of ponies that Trixie considers her friends. And for once the clumsy dishonesty didn't bother AJ in the least. So how long are you gonna be in Ponyville for? I hope you won't leave too quickly 'cause of all the bad blood between you and the others, said Applejack, starting the arduous task of cleaning up the ruinous mess that the hungry blue mare had left on the kitchen table. I'd love it if, she reconsidered her phrasing, I would really like it if. Dang it. You're just asking her out as a friend, so stop pussyfooting around and go for it. Therein lies the problem. Trixie was en route to Baltimore to see if she could find work when she got stuck in that snowstorm. Now the wheels of her caravan are frozen, and even with her spectacular magical might Trixie can't get the thing to budge. Being half buried in snow has not helped the situation either. So, it seems your small town will enjoy the glorious presence of the great and powerful Trixie for quite a while. The only problem with it is... Trixie paused for a moment in thought. One of the many problems with that is that Trixie does not have any money and she ate the last of her food with you. This thought hit AJ fairly hard. That can of peaches had been the last of the magician's supply. Well shoot, no wonder you were hungrier than a timber wolf in a lumber yard. So did you have anything to eat at all yesterday? Trixie ate a pine cone. If that counts. Big Mac was puzzled. He had assumed that he would find Applejack at the south end of the farm, tapping her hoof impatiently, waiting to rub his nose in the fact that she had already completed most of his chores as well as her own. But his sister was nowhere to be found. And the ground was still strewn with broken branches and other storm debris that needed to be cleared. It wasn't like AJ to let some pony else do her chores for her. The big red stallion stood in silence, contemplating whether he should risk a stern talking to and start doing his sister's load of the work for her. In fact, there was only one reason Applejack had ever ditched chores. When she had a crush on some pony. Mac could remember each of these occasions quite clearly. AJ's first crush has been on a classmate, a transfer student. A mare who moved to town from Manhattan called. What had her name been again? Big Macintosh closed his eyes and pondered for a moment. Chestnut. Something or other. Young AJ had been going through a defiant adolescence at the time. Everything from the big city seemed so unbelievably cool to her when compared with the grind of her mundane life on the farm, that new city mare classmate included. The two had never gotten serious. The family had assumed that dating mares was part of her rebellious phase as well. It hadn't been. But she had gotten over her infatuation with the city and come to love her life on the farm. Golden Harvest had been the first mare that AJ had seriously dated. Mostly every pony called her Carrot Top, but Mac had never had the courage to use her nickname to her face. It had been a romance that blossomed out of lengthy chats over the counter of the April family market stall. Their relationship had forced Mac to man the stall during their date despite his lack of wardiness. The aftermath of their breakup had been ugly. Following Miss Harvest had been a string of short-lived stints. Cherry Berry, Daisy, and Sunset Bliss had all briefly been at various stages of involvement with Applejack. But sadly each new fling had ended in a matter of weeks. Big Mac had even begun to recognize the signs that his sister was about to pursue a new mate. There was a pattern to it. First came the daydreaming. Now that he thought about it, AJ had seemed a little out of sorts yesterday, and this morning she had wandered through her duties as if half asleep. Mac turned and lumbered up the hill to the homestead to search of his sister. The second sign had always been neglecting of chores. On his way up the hill Mac had to scramble over the pile of unchopped wood that his sister had told him she'd take care of. And the final sign was always the same. AJ would make some massive and impulsive overcommitment to the new relationship as a sign of her affections. He could hear laughter and excited voices coming from inside the farmhouse as he drew nearer. Macintosh nosed open the back door and shambled into the kitchen. Applejack was seated next to an azure-colored unicorn with gray-violet eyes that peered at him apprehensively. Oh hey, Big Mac. You remember Trixie, right? She's gonna be staying with us for a few days. Hope that's okay. Trixie? Max scanned the room, his gaze resting on the purple wizard's hat sitting on the counter. Ah. That Trixie. Here we go again. Chapter 8. The morning after. Applejack's eyes fluttered open and for a moment she had not even the slightest idea of where she was. Then slowly the events of last night came back to her. She'd given her own bed to Trixie and had gone to sleep the night in the spare room, thus explaining the unfamiliar feeling that now greeted her on waking. She couldn't help but grin. Mac had, in his stoic kindness, offered to take care of her chores while she took their guest on a tour of the town. She had Trixie to herself for a whole day. Nerve-issued, was the portmanteau that Pinky had come up with for just such a feeling as this. She stretched out her forelegs and began to rise up when suddenly she noticed something odd. There was something in the bed with her. Or some pony. Apple Bloom? The little filly had not slept in the same bed as her big sister in nearly a year, a luxury that she had abandoned in her constant quest to be more mature. The lump lying next to her was too large to be Apple Bloom anyway. AJ pulled back the covers and then nearly had a heart attack on the spot. Trixie was curled up in a little ball next to her. Her pale cornflower blue tail was wrapped around her and her dainty hooves were tucked under her chin. The magician's flank gently rose and fell with her breath, her mouth still slightly open, her lips leaving a damp imprint on the mattress. Applejack had to quickly turn away, simply to avoid hyperventilating. Did we? Did I? Heck. Heckin' blast it. I told myself this gal's too broken up to be in a relationship right now and then I went ahead and took advantage of her. Or did I? I can't remember anything like that happening last night. We talked for a couple of hours and then I put her in bed. Tucked her in myself. So what in the hay is she doing sleeping next to me then? AJ pulled back the covers to take another longing look at the sleeping blue unicorn. One of Trixie's back hooves was kicking idly at the air and Applejack could faintly hear her mumbling to herself. She leaned closer to see if she could hear her a little better. But Applejack. Pine cones are not so bad once you get used to them. Just got to get past that first bite and then HMH. AJ desperately stifled a giggle. If she isn't just the cutest little thing. I wanna kiss her so bad. No. Come on now, Applejack. You promised you'd at least test the waters first. You gotta make sure she's comfortable with you. She needs a friend right now, not a lover. If things don't work out then she'd be all alone again. She's doing so well and a breakup would ruin her. Stop thinking about yourself. Now put the covers back and get up. Stop staring at her. Stop. She didn't stop staring. She couldn't. Similar struggles had been going on inside the Earth Pony's mind since Trixie had arrived. AJ was terrible at hiding her feelings and even worse at suppressing them. Twilight had specifically told her to be as gentle and friendly as she could. And I would be gentle. I would be as gentle as a field mouse. Just one kiss. She wouldn't even know. No. No, 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 no. After what seemed like an eternity of internal conflict, Trixie stirred. She dreamily lifted her head. Her eyes slowly opened and took in her surroundings. For a long moment the two stared at each other. Then Trixie squawked and fell out of bed. Applejack. Good morning. Trixie seemed to be having difficulty controlling the volume of her voice. Morning, sugar cube. Wanna tell me why you're sleeping in here? Cold. Piped Trixie. I was cold. AJ frowned. But I left you with a mountain of blankets and such. No. You. Trixie was clearly panicking at this point. You were cold. Trixie thought that maybe you might be cold, so she She decided to sleep with you and keep you warm. Did you have a bad dream? Asked Applejack. Her Trixie translator was getting keener with each conversation the two had. No. Maybe. Trixie mumbled. Trixie had hoped to wake up before you, so she could slip out of your bed without you knowing she had been there. Waking up before a farm gal takes a fair bit of practice, I'm afraid. But don't you fret none. It's perfectly okay to want a pony in your bed. Applejack scolded herself for the Freudian slip, to rely on her friends for comfort and such. Now come on, let's go get some breakfast. Food always had the power to cheer Trixie up. She trotted happily after AJ as the two went downstairs. Do you often have bad dreams, or is it just 'cause you're in an unfamiliar house? Asked Applejack. She had been the one to suggest that Trixie stay with her during her time in Ponyville after all. She certainly hoped it wasn't troubling the fragile unicorn. It was still dark outside, but AJ could hear Big Mac chopping wood out back. Was it possible that the big red stallion been the trigger? Trixie seemed to still be a little nervous around her brother. Not that something as trivial as dreams would bother the great and powerful Trixie. But yes, there have been many bad dreams. Since she used the amulet, Trixie has had a bit of trouble sleeping. And there are other things. But that's not why Trixie climbed into your bed last night, mind you. Trixie was determined to avoid looking vulnerable. But the news of the amulet's possible residual after effects worried AJ. They'd have to see Twilight about this as soon as they could. Applejack? AJ turned to face the unicorn. Trixie had stopped walking and her ears were burning red. Trixie didn't have bad dreams when you were next to her. Oh heck, it's gonna take all of my willpower to keep my hooves off her. Why's she gotta be so darn adorable? Well. I reckon there's enough room for two. In my bed. Chapter 9. Turning to friends. Applejack was silently seething as she stomped her way over to the Golden Oaks Library. Yeah, okay, I'll get it. Pinky's all about making new friends and Trixie could really use this kind of opportunity. Fine. I understand. In fact, no pony's more suited to introducing new folks to the town than Pinky. I know that as well as any pony does. But that don't mean that she can just go whisking my Trixie away like that. This was supposed to be our day together. I wanted to be the one to show her around town. The two of us have barely had a chance to talk. Besides most of yesterday afternoon. And most of last night. And all of this morning. Pinkie Pie had carried a squealing Trixie away earlier, slung over the pink mare's shoulder like a sack of potatoes. She always got like this when there was a new potential friend in town. A potential friend being some pony who wasn't trying to enslave the town using an evil artifact. AJ wasn't sure what the hyperactive party animal had planned for Trixie, but she had been unable to keep up with the two of them. Sometimes she suspected that Pinkie had the ability to outrun even Rainbow Dash. Still, Applejack was a pony who could always turn adversity to opportunity. She had been looking for a chance to discuss her feelings with one of her friends, away from the object of her new affections. Twilight seemed like a good choice. The two had discussed the Trixie situation 2 days prior and, despite Twilight being knee-deep in preparatory checklists for the upcoming winter wrap-up, they had reached something approaching a conclusion. Trixie could be welcomed into their friendship circle if she was willing to play by the rules and keep her ego in check. Twilight must have told something similar to Pinkie. That'd explain why she grabbed Trixie the moment she laid eyes on her. AJ huffed heavily. She had reached the door to the library moments earlier and was now rehearsing how she was going to explain her newfound feelings to the purple unicorn. Well, howdy Twilight. Remember how you told me to carefully invite Trixie to be my friend? Well, I invited her to live with me and now I have to damn near kick myself in the face just to stop myself kissing her right on the mouth. Try not to be too graphic about it. Hey there. Twilight. I'm crushing on Trixie so hard I'm surprised the heat and pressure of it hasn't turned my heart to diamond. Maybe the studious Twilight would appreciate a science metaphor. You know how Trixie is a magician. Well, she's working some kind of magic on me. At this point AJ was embarrassing herself. Just be honest. Be yourself. Tell Twilight the truth and she'll tell you exactly what to do. That married so many books she knows everything about everything. Applejack knocked nervously on the Golden Oak's front door. Coming, came the melodious call from inside, and moments later the door swung open to reveal the town librarian and her assistant. Twilight's face always visibly brightened up when she saw her friends, and today was no exception. In truth, Twilight was all of the elements of harmony combined. Capable of matching any pony in town with her kindness, generosity, loyalty, honesty and laughter. Then again, her laughter might need a bit of work. She had been experimenting with recently with mixed results. Please, come right in. Are you all right? You seem a little upset, AJ scolded herself for the umpteenth time that day as she walked in. If she didn't learn to hide her emotions more effectively, then a certain blue unicorn might catch on to her secret adoration. Not exactly upset, but there is something I need to talk to you about. She glanced meaningfully at Spike, who was ambling around the library interior, his little arms laden with books. Spike? The young dragon glanced up. Why don't you go down to Sugar Cube Corner and see how Pinky's party preparations are coming along? Twilight smiled warmly. And get yourself a treat while you're at it. She flicked a bit his way telekinetically and he caught it sharply in his clawed fist. Talking about jelly stuff again? Okay, I know when I'm not needed. He unloaded a pile of books on the floor and took off, pausing at the door and then turning back to Twilight. You are going to make it to the party though, aren't you, Twilight? Wouldn't miss it for the world. And with that, the two were alone. Golden Oak's library was already plastered wall to wall with plans for winter wrap-up despite the event being days away. Twilight had taken to her job as all-team organizer with characteristic enthusiasm. She had even tried to organize drills and rehearsals, but unfortunately few of the other town's ponies shared her passion for preparedness. So, what did you want to talk about? She asked inquisitively. Think I like Trixie. Oh yes, me too. After a few seconds of spluttering and wide-eyed panic, AJ realized that Twilight had misunderstood her. Yes, Pinky brought her in here a little while ago. They took off again moments before you arrived. Pinky's got a whole party planned. We didn't get a chance to talk properly, but Trixie seemed very different from the way she did on her last few visits. I think I'd be glad to call her my friend. Pinky certainly seemed very excited. More so than she usually is anyway. No. I mean, I don't like her as a friend. Well, I do like her as a friend, but I want to be more than friends. Actually saying the words was proving to be more difficult than the Orange Earth pony had imagined. More than friends? Twilight cocked her head. Like best friends then? No. I mean, Applejack paused for a long moment when an odd realization hit her. Twilight. You do know that I like mares, don't you? Of course. I'm a mare and you like me, don't you? No, not like that. Concern it. Applejack was beginning to get frustrated. You don't like me? Asked Twilight with a shaky voice and a look of genuine hurt in her eyes. Of course I like you, Twilight. Just not in a romantic way. Twilight stared blankly back at her as the realization slowly dawned on Applejack. A young mare raised in seclusion and isolation. A mare who had not even a single friend for much of her life. Much less a special sun pony. Twilight may know almost everything about anything, but she was, in all likelihood, completely ignorant when it came to romance. This was the one topic that the most knowledgeable pony in town couldn't help her with. On second thought, Twilight, never mind. Applejack smiled and placed a hoof on her friend's shoulder. Forget I said anything. Twilight was still extremely confused. Shoot. I usually turn to Twilight for advice first. Now who do I have left? Rainbow Dash would tease me inside out if she found out I was interested in a weirdo like Trixie. Pinky's busy with Trixie, so I can't really ask her right now. Not that I would, even if she wasn't busy. The last time I talked to Fluttershy about my love life, she got so embarrassed that she didn't even come out of her house for a week. Which leaves. Interlude, Pinky. And then we can eat cake, and then we can play games, and then we can drink punch, and then we can dance, and then I can wear your hat, and then we can eat even more cake. Help. Applejack. Any pony. And then we can listen to music, and then you can show us some magic, and then maybe Twilight can show us some magic too, and then we can dance some more, and then some pony save me. I'm being kidnapped. Trixie thought better than loudly shouting her own name while being carried through the streets of the town she tried to take over. Better to remain incognito, even if that meant tagging along with this madness a while longer. This small pink whirlwind had plucked her out of her comfort zone and dragged her away from Applejack yelling and whooping about parties. They'd visited Twilight briefly. Trixie had actually wanted to talk to her some more, but mere moments later this giggling psychopath had carried her away again. What kind of a pony just up and grabs some pony and carries them around? Where are you even taking Trixie? She gave a feeble kick at her captor, which Pinky failed to even notice. To a party, of course. Pinky was in high spirits. And high spirits for Pinky was like some kind of an excitement quantum singularity. I've told you that 20 times already. 21 times counting this one. We're going to a party. 22. We're going to a party. 23. Well, whose party? Asked Trixie, still being carried along on Pinky's back. It was going to be your party. But then I remembered that Berry Pinch was having her 7th birthday today, so I thought to myself, Pinky, you're going to have to choose between having a party for Trixie the magician or for Berry the filly. But then I thought, wait a minute. Why choose one? Trixie would probably love to come to Berry's party. And then we can have a smaller get-together. Double the fun. And then after that I thought to myself, what would it be like if I had Gummy's body but still had my own head but no teeth, like in that one dream that I had? But that didn't really have anything to do with you, but it was what I thought about after I thought about the party, and now I've told you about the party 25 times. Pinky's motor mouth was finally brought to a stop by lack of oxygen. AJ had told Trixie that, while under the influence of the alicorn amulet, she had removed Pinky's mouth. She now knew the reason why. Why would you possibly think that the great and powerful Trixie would want to go to some 7-year-old's birthday party? Trixie's voice was trembling due to the bumpy ride down the long and snowy streets of Ponyville. Because you're a magician. Duh. Magicians love to go to falls parties and entertain every pony. Piped Pinky, bouncing along with palpable joy. We don't love to do that. It's our job. Trixie caught herself, shocked at the words that had just come out of her mouth. She had loved her job once. And she had loved performing at birthday parties. Even more so than the big stage. But eventually her arrogance had cost her that love. She'd decided that she was too much of a big shot to do parties anymore. So you don't want to go to Berry's party with me? Pinky turned her head to face the mare slung over her back, although trembling lips and big puppy dog eyes. Trixie didn't say that. But she doesn't think any pony would want her at their party anyway. Given Trixie's past indiscretions, she's probably not going to get a very warm welcome. Well, don't you worry about a thing. Old Pinky's got a few tricks of her own. Pinky snorted at her own clumsy joke. I've prepared a perfect disguise. Pinky whipped out a comically oversized handlebar mustache seemingly out of nowhere. After a brief struggle she overpowered her slender passenger and the mustache was fixed firmly on Trixie's lip. Trixie does not think this is going to fool any pony, said Trixie, trying and failing to remove the mustache. Did you just glue this thing to Trixie's face? The disguise isn't going to work if you keep saying your name all the time. We'll have to come up with a new stage name for you. Let me think. Him. I know. Moustachio. Absolutely not, cried Trixie with livid conviction. How about Moustachio the Magician? Asked Pinky. That's not an improvement. Then the Magnificent Moustachio the Magician. No. The Mega Magnificent Moustachio the Magical Magician. Magical Magician is redundant. And that's a terrible stage name. Not great and powerful at all. Trixie was struggling to keep up with the pink bundle of energy. Pinky had put her down and the two were now walking side by side. That is to say that Trixie was walking and Pinky was hopping. The Mega Magnificent Moustachio the Magical Magistrate. Trixie is not a magistrate. Trixie had slipped into the state of amused confusion that most ponies felt when talking to Pinky. But you said that Magical Magician was redundant. And you should really stop calling yourself Trixie. Give your new stage name a try. But Trixie. No, Pinky leaned closer to Trixie. Trixie thinks that. Say it. Pinky was standing even closer. Trix. Moustachio, said Pinky, now standing so close her eyeball was almost touching Trixie's. After a long pause Trixie sighed and relented. Moustachio thinks that you are a very unusual pony. How is Moustachio supposed to do her tricks? She left all of her props back at her caravan. Silly Moustachio, the magic isn't in any caravan. It's in here. Pinky placed a hoof over Trixie's heart and smiled warmly. Trix. Moustachio thinks it's up here actually. Trixie tapped a hoof against her temple. Still, she certainly felt the sentiment. It was time to start improvising some stage magic. You pulled out a mustache. Did you bring anything else? Sure. I've got 10 different types of mustaches here. Pinky began seemingly snatching objects out of the air and dropping them in front of Trixie. Mutton chops, horseshoe, pencil, anchor, cobstache, goatee. Ooh, this one's my favorite. I'm gonna wear it to the party. Pinky slapped the Fu Manchu onto her upper lip and grinned fiendishly. Let me see what else. I've got a rubber chicken. Pinky Slinky. Don't really know what this is. Fluttershy's shopping list. Chewing gum, defibrillator and a half-eaten cupcake. Pinky popped the cupcake into her mouth without a second's hesitation. Okay, now it's a fully eaten cupcake. Trixie stared slack-jawed at the pink mare. Where were you keeping all that stuff while you were carrying me? Hammerspace, replied Pinky, meekly. Trixie did not even pretend to understand. Fine, throw all that stuff in Moustachio's hat. Is this the place here? The two had come up to a small house, adorned with balloons, ribbons and tinsel. Trixie popped the now heavily laden wizard hat back onto her head. Time to make some magic. Follow Moustachio's lead, lol assistant. Trixie winked at Pinky and the pink mare reciprocated. The two swept up the steps and burst through the door into the Foal's birthday party. Behold, Foals of Ponyville! Cried Trixie, the great. The majestic and magnificent Moustachio heard tell that a very special young filly is having a birthday today. Where is this bearer Pinch? The two were greeted by silence. The colts and fillies stared at the odd mustache-wearing duo who had just burst in. Bearer Pinch, a small rose-collared filly, stepped forward with a skeptical eyebrow raised. Is that you, Pinky? And who are you supposed to be? You're a mare, aren't you? Why are you wearing a mustache if you're a mare? She asked, irritated at having her party interrupted. A better question would be, why are you wearing a mustache? Bearer Pinch looked down and gasped to find that a mustache had been attached to her own lip without her even knowing. As the laughter and applause swept over the duo, Trixie couldn't help but grin behind her mustache. It felt good to be making magic again. Chapter 10. Turning to Friends Part 2, Rarity Edition. My. Isn't this just the nicest of surprises? You know, darling, you and I don't spend nearly enough time together. Rarity took a blasé sip of her tea. All pleasantries aside, I get the feeling you want to ask me something. AJ sat stiffly on her chair. Her friend had brought out all her most expensive china and the farmer pony was too frightened of breaking anything to even lift a hoof. She simply wasn't much good at delicates and fineries. Well. I don't really know how to say this. I need to ask you something. She wriggled awkwardly on her chair as she spoke. Absolutely anything, darling. Rarity dived into her usual repartee, wearing her generosity like a fine garment. Name it and it's yours. A new dress? Done. I've actually got my hooves on some green saddle Arabian silk that would look simply divine with your beautiful orange fur. No. Not clothes. I'll just need. You need me to falset the Kitty Mark Crusaders again? But I had them for all of last week. She sighed melodramatically. Very well, Applejack. If you felt you had to come all the way out here just to ask me that, then I suppose I could take them again. No. It's not that. I want. Oh, thank goodness. Rarity laughed nervously, because I think another few nights of that might put me in the insane asylum. What then? Beauty tips? She fluttered her eyelashes coquettishly. Now I may be renowned for my generosity, but my beauty secrets don't come cheap. I think I'm in love, blurted Applejack. This was the first time she had called it that. Even in the privacy of her own mind she had simply thought of it as a crush. Stunned at herself, she sat in silence for a moment as Rarity stared at her, a smile playing on the corners of the unicorn's lips. Ooh, juicy, crooned Rarity, leaning on her hooves and smiling with open glee. Romantic advice then. This is certainly a first. So. Where's the lucky mare? The two were sitting together in the Carousel boutique, which Rarity had closed early for the day. A gentle snowfall was softly drifting down past the frosted panes of the shop window. Rarity's winter line was on display and every store ponyquin was decked out in scarves, mufflers and sweaters in a myriad of colors and styles. Somewhere out there Trixie and Pinky were up to goodness knows what. The group was to rendezvous at Sugar Cube Corner in a while, but before that Applejack needed some advice. Talking to a pony who was less naive than Twilight didn't necessarily make explaining herself easier. AJ liked Rarity a lot and enjoyed her company, but this was a member of her friendship circle that she had spent the least one-on-one time with. But still, Rarity was a pony who knew the ins and outs of love, and Applejack was looking for some pony to tell her what she wanted to hear. That she was being an idiot, that she needed to control herself, stop ogling Trixie's flank and be a supportive friend. Trixie, mumbled Applejack. Rarity blinked and then stared vacantly at her guest for a moment. She took a measured sip of her tea. Ahem, she cleared her throat. I'm sorry, darling. I must have misheard you. What did you say? Applejack was as red as the apples that adorned her flank, the great and powerful Trixie. Oh, the magician? Said Rarity, nonchalantly. Yes, I heard from Twilight that she was back in town. The two sat in silence. No sound but the clinking of Rarity's spoon as she stirred her tea. And you say that you're in love with her? Rarity's eye twitched as she squeezed out the words, but besides that her tone was calm and collected. Well. Maybe love is a bit too strong of a word. But then again maybe it isn't. I don't really know yet. I thought that I should come to you for some advice. May I say something before we begin? Rarity asked, sweetly. Of course. Rarity drew in a deep breath. What? Why? How? What? Why? Of all the ponies in this whole wide world, why would you choose that one? Why? Have you completely lost your mind? She's insufferable. Why would you? Why? Rag. As Rarity squawked and screeched, Applejack felt a wave of relief wash over her. The calm reaction that her confession had received was starting to be unnerving, and it was somehow soothing to have her friend react in exactly the way she had expected. Rarity loved drama to a fault. Finally the purple-maned mare managed to regain some semblance of control. And this might not be the best time to say this, but I also invited her to live with me for a bit, AJ grinned sheepishly. Rarity drew a second deep breath. What? Why? Why would you do something like that? Trixie? In your home? With your family? Why? Are you crazy? Is she still crazy? Are you all crazy? Jug. Rarity collapsed back into her chair, panting. Got it all out of your system yet? Asked Applejack, carefully righting some of the china that Rarity had knocked over. Oh yes, thank you. Rarity poured herself another cup. Do go on, darling. Tell me all about it. She's not the same as she was before. Trixie, I mean. The more we talked, the more I understood. She wasn't just some arrogant, vengeful show-off. She's struggled her way up from the bottom of the barrel. She's had tougher times than most any pony I ever did meet. Sometimes I reckon that ridiculous pride was the only thing she had left. And we basically just up and took it from her. Smashed her life to bits. Now I think we can all have a chance at starting afresh. She's a real sweetheart deep down, and I think you'd see it like I do if you take the time to get to know her. We are talking about the same Trixie, right? Blue fur, and fashionable cape and hat. Talks in the third person? Applejack giggled, although the weird speech patterns would start to work on my nerves, but really the more I hear it, the more adorable it is. Rarity raised an eyebrow. Really? Heck yeah. She's cute as a button, and not in a doing it on purpose kinda way. Real smart too. Funny. And pretty. Beautiful, really. I've always had a bit of a thing for dainty little mares. And caring. But not too caring. Willing to be doted on. Grateful for it, but always in this lovable pretending I'm not grateful but I really am way that makes me just wanna snuggle her till I... Applejack, you're drooling, said Rarity. I'm not, said AJ, wiping her mouth hurriedly. I'm joking. Rarity laughed and beamed warmly. I wasn't sure if I could believe you when you said she had changed, but honestly I don't think I've ever seen you gush about some pony like this before. I suppose I could always give the oddball another chance, as long as there won't be any magical amulets involved. Now that I think about it, you two would make an adorable couple. How long before you dazzle her with your country charm? This was not what Applejack was looking for. Rarity was often inclined to emotional 180 seconds, and she had certainly wanted her to give Trixie a chance, but she had hoping for a scolding about her newfound affections. Dang it, Rarity. You are supposed to be chewing me out. What? Why? She asked with genuine surprise. As it stands, I'm the only friend Trixie's got. What do you think's gonna happen if things don't work out with her? I don't exactly have the best track record for long-term relationships. I can't have that mare going off on her own again in a worse mood than before. She don't deserve to be alone and unhappy. Besides, I don't even know if she's interested in mares anyway. Or even less a mare like me. This whole crush of mine is just asking for trouble, and I know it. Applejack trailed off as she saw the exasperated look on Rarity's face. Remind me again, darling. Didn't you write a letter to the princess last week? She asked, her voice dripping with mock sincerity. Yeah? And what was that letter about, again? She asked sardonically. It was about me not working myself to the bone and sometimes putting my own interests in front of other ponies, said AJ reluctantly. Rarity telekinetically swiped Applejack's hat and plopped it onto her own head. Hooey, look at me, MLP. I can't make the moves on any mare I want cause I'm too busy thinking about her feelings and not busy enough thinking about my own. I haven't had a serious relationship in a year cause I'm always worrying about my brother and sister and family and work and friends. I'd probably be the purdiest mare in Equestria if I'd just take Rarity's advice and come down to the spa once in a while. Rarity launched herself wholeheartedly into a comically poor imitation of her friend. Hey, gimme back my hat. MLP and I don't seem to know that it's rude to wear a hat indoors. Yee-ho. Rarity playfully sidestepped her friend and pranced across the boutique floor, laughing and twirling. Rarity stopped playing the fool and just listened to what I'm saying. I'm Trixie's only friend and... Has she met Pinkie Pie yet? Asked Rarity, trying desperately to stay on the opposite side of the tea table from AJ. Yeah, they've spent the last few hours together. Why? Then I have news for you. As Applejack leapt after her, Rarity dived under the table, in as ladylike a way as she could. Emerging from the other side, she trotted across the room and examined herself in one of the wall mirrors. If she's spent more than 5 minutes with Pinkie, then you're not her only friend anymore. And if she really is as nice a mare as you say, then after the rest of us get a chance to spend some real time with her, she'll have a bunch more friends besides. I told you it's not. It's crazy. I mean, I don't even know if she'd be interested. Applejack was stumbling over herself. Darling, forgive me for being blunt, but... You Applejack. Every pony's interested. You can bend even the straightest of mares. All you need to do is ask and you never do. Rarity finally abandoned her improvised game of tag and gave Applejack her hat back. I absolutely must get myself one of those hats. I think I'd cut a hole in mine for a horn though. So that's your advice then? Asked Applejack, angrily dusting of her hat. If you want her, she's yours for the taking. I guarantee it. Give her some of that southern charm. Rarity tossed a wink AJ's way. Now come on. Let's go see what she and Pinkie Pie have been up to. I'll even be your wingmare if you want.